You heard from him and everybody before. That's really my twin brother. Thank you so much for coming here. Really appreciate the time that you've taken, especially on a Monday afternoon, to be here. I want to talk a little bit about Ghana because that's a place that we all have close to our heart. For the first time in our history, and our parents' history, and our grandparents' history, Guyana has enough resources to realize the dreams of our foreparents, our parents, and ourselves. First time in history. So now let's curse that bridge. Let's welcome that bridge. Couple of facts. Since we became independent to now, we have never, ever managed our resources properly. Never. We've been poor. We've attempted to manage poverty. We have managed what was basically an agrarian society, sugar being the king, gold came afterwards, bauxite. And if you pick every endeavor either side of the political fence has had to manage our economy, they haven't done a sterling job. So we now have the revenue base. The question is, what are we going to do with it collectively as a people? Not as the People's Progressive Party or the PNC or the AFC collectively. And one of the lessons of our history is that we clearly don't have the skills to manage it. That's a fact. Let's start off by saying our history has demonstrated that we have never at any stage actually had the skills collectively to manage the resources we've had. Literally, if the Queen were to come back from 1966 and look prior to 2015 at the economy, we had not expanded it. We introduced no new product. Everything that was there when she handed it over was there up to 2015. Gold, bauxite, rice. But bauxite was in some trouble, rice. We hadn't even vertically added to the economy. The good thing about the world these days is that where you don't have the skills, you can hire the skills. And one of the things that we are proposing for the future of Guyana is, first of all, we have to have a 10, 15, and 20-year plan for the country. And the reason why I say that is that you cannot have this level of revenue, which you have never managed before, and expect to manage it overnight or have the skills to manage it. One of the most basic things that we've learned from our foreparents, you always have to put aside something to save. Whether you put it under the mattress, whether you put it in the bank, whatever you do with it. That does not happen. Last year, we had $1 billion US in the Natural Resource Fund. $1 billion. We spent 98% of that money, and we cannot point to a single project. You live in the United States. $1 billion cannot be hidden in roads. It can't be hidden in railroads. It's got to be a visible, substantial product. $1 billion gone. We are probably about 750,000 to 800,000 people sitting down in Guyana. I just went to Liverpool, Lancaster on the current team, and the level of poverty is unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Drains are clogged. As a matter of fact, as the meeting got to 6:30, literally, it was as if a swarm of mosquitoes descended. And this is no exaggeration. It didn't start like this. It literally is as if somebody opened the door and everybody was taken over with mosquitoes. And we literally ran to get out of this. And there are people in those communities that live with that. But I want to come back to where we are. So we spent $1 billion last year. In the first half of this year, we've already at 2.3, and up to now we're somewhere around $3 billion US. Don't know what happened last year. It is clear that we need that 10 to 15-year plan, because it must be able to survive election cycles. You can't have decisions that are made off the whim by the political class without feasibility studies. And I give you a classic example. So we found a lot of oil, and we found a huge amount of gas offshore, 120 miles offshore. So it makes sense. We should use the gas to generate cheap electricity, because we are paying 28 cents per kilowatt hour, and the rest of the world is somewhere between 4 and 6. Trinidad certainly is at 4 cents per kilowatt hour. So we decided in 2015, when the coalition got in, that we would do a feasibility study about where to locate the gas plant that would convert gas into energy, chemicals, and all the other downstream benefits that you can get. And all of the studies showed that the premier places for the location of that plant should be along the coastline, or even if they built a marina going out to the continental shelf, it should be in the coast. For political reasons, the People's Progressive Party decided they were going to put it at Wales. You would have thought that if you're going to be spending, and when the coalition was in, the cost to bring that gas from the offshore FPSOs to the plant to the coast was around $300–400 million. As soon as the People's Progressive Party got into office and Exxon was going to build it, the cost of building the same pipeline to Wales, and you know that Wales can't be more than maybe 2 miles from the mouth of the Demerara River, suddenly made it $1 billion. Suddenly made it to $1 billion. And they started the gas to energy project. Now, all of us, if we were spending serious money, first thing you do is a feasibility study. It's basic. You can't spend $1 billion if you're not sure you're going to make it back. And if you want to give away $1 billion, just sign a check and give it to everybody. That plant started without any feasibility study. Up to today, there is no feasibility study. And after we raised the issue of feasibility study, they said that they have a technical feasibility study and they have an environmental feasibility study, but no financial and no economic. This is $2 to $3 billion US. To crown it, they then decided they're going to go to Exim Bank in America, not Exim Bank in some remote part of the world, Exim Bank in America, to borrow money to fund the project. Now imagine walking into a bank with no feasibility study and saying, lend me $2 billion. Even if it is the day for high grass at the board meeting, there is no way a bank is going to lend you money without the most basic feasibility study. And so they're hoping that Exim is going to approve it. But it doesn't end there. They're now talking about a second gas to energy program without a feasibility, when they don't even have a feasibility on the first program. And it has been stalled because one of the contractors they engaged has taken them to arbitration. Now, that is the sort of decision making we have in government. It doesn't matter what your political preference is, that is reckless spending. You can't justify that. There's no basis for it. And that is precisely what is happening in Guyana that is so dangerous. Because what is going to happen is that if we spent $1 billion last year and we can't see it, imagine what's going to happen this year. We're going to spend $4 billion and we still can't see it. And that is a problem. But if you think the decision making is poor, try this. The government said it was going to build a fixed span bridge over the Berbice River. Of course, most of their supporters are in Berbice. And at some stage, a fixed span bridge would make sense. I don't know how many of you have been back to Guyana recently. We have a floating